With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Limestone Farms bourbons are like a secret portal to a world of rich flavors where high proof meets smooth satisfaction. Every barrel is meticulously crafted and blended with a specific message in mind. Experience clean delineated flavor profiles that will have you engaged from the first sip to the final drop, making your palate beg for just one more taste. Limestone Farms, bringing heritage home.
We're all familiar with finishing bourbon in wine barrels, but finishing in a rosé cask, now we're venturing into uncharted territory. For Penelope Bourbon, that uncharted territory lies in the southern Rhone region of France. Their rosé cask finish marries Penelope's straight bourbon whiskey with French Grenache rosé wine cask. The result is a unique aromatic blend of strawberry, floral, and herbal flavors. Take a sip of this one-of-a-kind bourbon at penelopebourbon.com. There's something different about Lexington, Kentucky. Something you can't quite put your finger on. The source of this magic? Limestone. It gives our native spirit an unmatched purity that will keep you coming back for more. But bourbon this good, from a place this beautiful, is too wonderful to keep hidden away. So come visit and see why Lexington is Bourbon Land. Brought to you by Visit Lex. Plan your Bourbon Land adventure at visitlex.com.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here live tonight in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it is my good friend and co-host,
Hey.
Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Mark, I'm doing great. It's good to be back. This has been a little hiatus for me here.
Yeah, you've had a couple weeks off. Well, I've had a couple weeks off too, right? But
yeah, absolutely. We stacked a few up, and then I got booted out for one of them. And so it's good to be back in the Bourbon Life Studios,
Stacey,
right?
I'm telling you, man, Stacey did a great job in your absence. She's not quite the palate that you are, but you know.
Don't say that.
She's a little easier on the eyes.
I appreciate that.
Oh, no, but yeah, it seems like it's been forever. It's been like 2 weeks now, so been a while, but happy to be back and happy to be back around the table. So our guest is here live with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. A three-time guest, as a matter of fact, so we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support and the support of all of our sponsors. We couldn't bring you all this show every week with great guests like we have tonight without all their support. Matt, with that said, you want to tell everybody who we have with us?
Absolutely. We couldn't believe that it's been almost 2 years.
2 years.
Since we've had our guest on last. It just seemed like it was months last season, and here it's been a whole other season.
Yeah.
So we were so excited to get him back on. We've got a lot to talk about. There's been a whole lot going on. But back on the Bourbon Life Podcast, great friend of the podcast, great friend to Lexington, is Barry Brinegar, co-founder and national brand ambassador for RD1 Spirits. Barry, welcome on back.
Thanks, Matt. Man, I'm so happy to be back. I'm a three-peat. It's rare air that I'm in. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I think this is episode 243. Yeah, so I think you're probably one of only maybe 5 or 6 people that have been at least 3 times. We've only had one 4-time guest, and
nice.
We've had a couple of, I think there's only 5 or 6 people that have done that. So
wow,
you're in rare air there, man.
I'm hoping for 4.
But we're the ones that should be thrilled because we got you back, man. You know, we're funny. It was funny. We were talking before we started, and it's like I see you everywhere. Because we're both here in Lexington, but we got a lot of the same events. So I see you, and in my mind, it was like Barry's just on the show like 6 months ago. It's like I started looking today. I'm like, it was 22 months ago. I can't believe that, man. It just doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem right. You know, I got to give a plug to Liquor Barn Hamburg, man. Those guys over there, Liquor Barn does such a great job. And, you know, that's where we see each other a lot is at their bar. They've got some of the best selections. You want to go in and get a really nice pour for $2 or $3 or $5 that you can't find anywhere. Go to Liquor Barn.
Yep.
Those guys take care of you.
I agree, man. They've got a great selection of stuff. They got a great selection of your stuff on there too, which is awesome. But yeah, man, I love. Well, I mean, I'm a big Liquor Barn fan. Even before they sponsored the podcast, I mean, that's where I met Matt. As a matter of fact,
that's where this concept was hatched.
Yeah, we were at a Pappy raffle up there and just started kind of talking and chit chatting, and then kept seeing each other up there at the bar, tasting bar, right? Mm-hmm. And we just started, having drinks together and talking, and then eventually convinced him to do a podcast with me. So
wow.
But hey, enough about us.
Yes,
we are on a podcast.
That's right.
The great thing about having the podcast is we have great guests like you, Barry. So we don't have to talk about Mark and I, bore everybody with the same old stories here.
Yes, but talking about great pours, let's talk about where we have poured up first. If you want to tell everybody.
Super excited, yeah. Of course, you'd mentioned just a few minutes ago that Kentucky Bourbon Festival just occurred mid-September. September's Bourbon Heritage Month, as we know, and, all things bourbon start in the month of September. So in Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world, there's a bourbon festival. It's a 4-day festival. And so this year was the first year that they had over 50 barrel selects from different brands.
Crazy.
50.
Yeah.
I'm 50. Anyway, so sorry, I had a moment there. This one is a Kentucky straight bourbon, and it's 115.68 proof. Okay. So it's barrel proof. It is finished in apple wood, and what I love about this wood finish is that it enhances the flavor, the spices on that mid palate, but they're in the flavor wheel of a traditional bourbon. And for me, I like that funky stuff, but there's a finish for everyone, and I think this one's gonna resonate with us tonight.
Yeah. Now, Barry, nobody can see her, but your wife is here, so be careful talking about the funky stuff that you like. Okay, so keep that in mind. But
yeah. I needed to bring Miss Tori. She's my driver tonight.
There you go. Smart.
I told her the last time that we were here, I think we sampled through a few bourbons.
We did
more than likely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we were just hanging out, right? I don't think it was even a podcast. I think the last time you were over here, we were just hanging out.
We were just hanging out.
Yeah.
So that's because that's what we do.
Because that's what we do. Exactly right, man. For sure. Mm-hmm. Matt, what are you picking up on this one, man?
I really like the influence that applewood brings on this. It's got a really light, crisp nose to it. It's really accentuated, I think, by that apple. Maybe I'm just thinking now applewood high in my mind, but it really has kind of those think crisp, like honey crisp apple. There's that bright flavor to it. Kind of accentuates any tree fruit, orchard fruit that comes along with this. There's almost like a cinnamon or like a streusel note to it as well, like kind of apple pie-ish, like cinnamon crumble or like an oat crumble on top of that as well. And then just like nice, good bourbon notes leads to like some creamy vanilla, some like taffy sweet confectioner sugar on the back with like a touch of the oak kind of rounding out the end of it.
Yeah, the spiciness comes through on this as well. You were talking about that, Matt. Mm-hmm. But it is bright. It's bright. It's almost like florally bright, herbal brightness as well. But there's that cinnamon you talked about that stood out as well. We're not going to get to the palate just yet, but on the nose definitely stands out. Great descriptions, Barry. Anything else that?
Well, Matt always nails it. I love sitting down with you because you're really reading straight from the script, and what I love about this though that fruit that freshness really comes across kind of strong on the aroma, but the wood tannins, with that apple wood, really kind of bring it back to that earthier kind of note, that wood tannin note on the finish. But the palate's going to come through very similarly, but definitely nailed it, Matt. That's awesome. Good notes.
That's why I always have to have Matt here, right? Because otherwise it'd just be me talking about stuff and people be like, "Yes, that's pretty stupid, Mark."
Well, you are a master of bourbon, so
Yeah,
taking a little deep dive. I think.
So Barry, let's have a little quick refresher because it has been 2 years about you yourself, and how you got into the industry. Just because we've picked up a lot of new listeners in the last 2 years, man. So this will be great.
Well, I'm a story that a lot of people could reproduce. I'm number one. I'm a consumer. I'm from Kentucky, and so I like to say, and of course we got the air quotes here. At a legal young age, bourbon was literally in my blood. And, so I think that, living in the land of bourbon, you have a stronger appreciation for it because we hear the story all the time. We go to distillery tours. We have friends like, you guys and Freddie Johnson. They're our friends. Yeah. We hang out and we drink bourbon, so I think that, for me, I was a consumer, loved bourbon, followed the Lexington Bourbon Society around, and just fell in love with the industry. And, at that point, I had evolved my career that started out as a field medic in the 1st Marine Division and then a registered nurse, and then moved into the marketing and sales arena and just continued to pave a path forward that included bourbon, so eventually met enough people that said, you should really start a bourbon brand. And so we wrote a business plan. First person we talked to was Mark Stoops, the UK football coach. Yeah. And Mark, man, Mark loves his bourbon. He loved the story. He loved the bourbon. And he said, I'm all in. And so we were off and running just with the first meeting that we had. And fortunately, the next day we met with Mike Tedderton and Marcia Couch, who used to own Creative Lodging Solutions. And they sold that, and they're serial entrepreneurs. And so Mike prophetically told me that second day that you're not asking for enough money. And, after I stopped laughing, we kind of came to our senses and brought him in as a secondary investor. And so this is during COVID. So this is January 2020. And from January to October, we buy liquid, we buy cost of goods, corks and bottles and labels. We got a label approved through TTB, the government agency that approves labels, and had a product on the shelf in October. And 10 months, and in that 10 months, you're an attorney, you know what it takes to have to bring a brand to market. And we launched the brand, and, prophetically 3 months later, Mike's words came true. We weren't asking for enough money. And so we went back to the investors and said, all right, something's going to have to change. And they came in, pulled back all the books and the numbers, looked at everything and said, we're going to move forward, but only, Barry, if you come with us. And I'm like, okay,
twist my arm.
I guess I will. And, and so happy that I did it. I never thought I would be with the brand at this stage where we're nationally distributed. We're in 26 markets by the end of this year across the country. And we have a liquid strategy that's taking us out and aging our bourbons 6 and 7 year, so it's kind of fun. It's fun seeing that and being a part of it. But, I'm just loving it. Now I'm traveling, fortunately, Miss Tori was able to go with me to California this last week.
I saw the pics on social media.
Oh man, yeah, we may have had a little bit of fun in our off time.
I saw the pictures.
It's so much fun. But it enables me to be able to travel and meet other people that are just like me. Yeah. When I go to bourbon festivals and I'm talking with people and they're like, oh, you're the co-founder. I'm like, listen, I just love bourbon just like you do, and I appreciate a good bourbon. So we tell tall tales when we're out and about, just like we do here at home, and just absolutely love meeting people when I'm out.
Now, Barry, there's nobody else like you, man. Come on.
You're too nice.
Yeah. So actually, it's January 2020. Really, that's kind of when the start point was.
We incorporated ourselves in January with our investors.
Yeah, not even 5 years. It'll be 5 years in 3 months.
Isn't that crazy?
So, yeah, that's just insane. How much you've grown. But you guys have had a ton of stuff going on, and we're gonna unpack a lot of that because there's a lot to unpack. Let's talk. Let's see. I'm trying to think time wise. Yeah, let's talk some more about the awards and stuff. That's the big thing that kind of stands out to me first. Is like you guys have gotten a ton of stuff that have happened positive in terms of awards and recognition for your stuff. Can you kind of talk about what's
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for leading up to that. One of the things that's our strength is we surround ourselves with really good people. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We want to make sure that we shorten that learning process. And so one of our director of marketing came out and was leading another brand to market and, moved them into a national market. And so we were fortunate to bring her on board. And the strategy is getting our liquid in front of a lot of these different tasting groups and competitions. And we're right now at 100 medals with our core 4. And so we're not talking a bronze medal. We're talking gold, double gold, platinums.
Double platinums.
And so, we're really fortunate, very good feedback on our product. And, I think that it's Kentucky bourbon. What more can we do with Kentucky bourbon with wood finishing is what what our business plan is.
Yeah. And the name RD1, because you guys, we kind of dial it back a little bit. Last time you were on, you guys had just gone through the transition because originally it was William Tarr.
Yep.
Transitioned to RD1.
Yep.
So can you, number one, for our newer listeners, explain the name, but then also, can you talk a little bit about that how things have been now that's been almost 2 years?
Sure. So, in 1865, the first registered distillery, RD1, was called the Ashland Distillery. And William Tarr grew up in Paris. His house was still standing as of a few months ago there between Paris and Millersburg. And so William Tarr bought the Ashland Distillery in 1871, had it for the longest amount of time. So they kept the Ashland label and then came out with a William Tarr, an Old Tarr label. And 2 distillery fires in 1870, and William Tarr and his partner, Tom McGibbon, TJ McGibbon, I'll talk about him in just a moment, rebuilt the distillery and then renamed it the William Tarr Distillery. And so when we first launched back in January of 2020, we really wanted to pay honor and respect to William Tarr because he was one of the most well-known owners and first entrepreneurs of RD1. And so that William Tarr label, really, it was always meant to be a limited time offering because there's no way that, with what we had launched at that time, and we might talk a little bit about that, very popular. So the old WM Tarr was a wonderful product. It was a burr rye. It was a 8-year rye, 7-year bourbon. And we also had a 12-year inheritance. If you remember that 12-year inheritance, oh my goodness.
I remember it.
It was so good. So good.
Fondly, yes.
Yeah, me too. Tori and I may have a few bottles squirreled away at home. They come out for special occasions. So, that when we initially came out in January 2020, we came out with the WM Tarr, always meant to be an LTO. But when Mark and Mike and Marcia came in and, we kind of looked and evaluated at things, we really wanted to tell that whole story. Right. So not just the William Tarr legacy, but, talk about the Ashland. We'll talk about the bottle, how it is very reminiscent of the, all the things that the brand represents from the 1800s. But then we wanted to not only tell that story, but we wanted to write the next chapter. And so RD1 just made sense because we were able to tell that full story from 1865 leading into Prohibition, and then as we resurrect or establish RD1 Spirits to pay respect to it and write the next chapter. So that's kind of where that transition came from in 2022 as we're looking at writing that next chapter. So the first RD1 Kentucky Straight Bourbon and the French Oak were our first 2 expressions that came to market.
And I mean, the thing that kind of blows me away about this, because it was almost like a rebranding of sorts, because that was the name. Everybody just said, oh, it's William Tarr, William Tarr, William Tarr. And then it was like RD1. And I think a lot of brands would struggle. Well, I mean, that would be a big transition. But you guys, I mean, it's like you haven't missed a beat. I mean, to me, as a consumer and what I see, I mean, it looks like it's just been like, whoop, just continuing to go up.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I think that being a young brand, and not having a lot of layers of leadership, we were able to make decisions really quickly. and really leaning in and trusting our bourbon consultants and our experts. You know, Mike was very adamant. We wanted the right people for the right seats, and he found them. He found the right people to come in and take us national, and
Nice.
we're really fortunate.
Yeah, I mean that's great, and I love the fact that you guys just like you pivoted and like it has just like haven't missed a beat. I mean, just kept on going, man, which is great. So, all right, let's jump back because we're almost at the end of round one here. So let's jump back to the whiskey. Matt, let's talk about the palate and the finish on this one, man.
I really like all the spice that this brings. There's a ton of baking spice, cinnamon, clove, cardamom, all of those autumn spices really come across. That apple is really nice, crisp and bright on the palate as well. It almost drinks like a mixed, like an apple old fashioned type flavors. There's like a little bit of darker cherry from the wood on there, some like sweet and bitterness, and it's just like kind of smoky on the palate as well. Really like earthy, nice long finish, but it lets you know it's bourbon.
Yep.
Like you're not drinking apple flavored anything. Like it's a good influence from the apple wood on bourbon.
Yep.
But at the bones of it all is good bourbon, and I think that really shines through on the palate as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the character that applewood delivers, it again stays within that typical flavor wheel. And you had mentioned, I think cinnamon and strudel. I had a tasting with a group that was in from California. Go out to California, meet some people. I said, anytime you're in Kentucky, call me and let me know. So they did. And this was 3:30 today. And, Tori's getting ready to get off and meet me at 5. And I'm like, yeah, I'll meet you at the gift shop. So met them at 4. We tasted this. And exactly, I mean, they were nailing the baking spices, the strudel, that apple, that fruit really is a nice coexistence with the spices that you get. So I love that. Very, very apt descriptor. You definitely get the wood tannins. So for me on that finish, I'm getting a lot of the wood tannins in a good way. It's not astringent to where it's drying out, but it lets you know it's there. And it's 115.68 proof. It's it's got a little heat to it.
It does. It's funny because you were talking earlier, we were talking about the nose and you're talking about the tannins. And I was like, this is going to, because I'm not a huge fan of the tannic after effect, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get this. So I sipped it. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for that, where I go, that's really drying. And I'm like, okay, maybe I missed something. I took another sip. And I'm like, no, I'm still not getting that, So I agree with you on that. There is that effect from the oak, but there's not that drying, cloying, as Matt always says, where you need to take a drink of water immediately after taking a sip. I don't have that effect, which is great. It's funny when Matt was talking about things, it almost was reminiscent of when I was a kid and would eat cinnamon Apple Jacks. I don't know if you remember those.
I do. Yeah.
But it kind of has a little bit of apple, but a little bit of the graining, not grain forward, but there's just that sweetness. And I don't know, it's just a combination of factors, but that cinnamon that comes through, a little bit of that apple, the sweetness combined. And in my head, it was just triggered this memory of a kid and having a bowl of Apple Jacks.
Well, and I'll tell you, Mark, I had a retailer out in Southern California, talk about tasting and, grain forward. And I'm like, I kind of like that. Whiskey and bourbon, straight bourbons are cereal grain, so it depending on what kind of still you have, you're going to enhance some of those grain flavors. I kind of like that. I enjoy it, but not everyone does. Some people like the 10, 12 year, just give me oak and leather and smoke.
Right.
I like that too, but when you're starting to lean in to some of these different age statements, the younger ones really give you a beautiful comparison of grain and sweetness, apple and fruit and spices. So, to me, that's the best of all worlds.
Yeah, no, I really like this. And I haven't had this because it's a barrel pick, so I've not had this one particular. So, but this is really good. I really like this. And that's when I said grain forward, because, you're right. When you hear that, some people in their mind automatically think, oh, it's young or it's, this or that. And that's not, I don't mean that at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for kind of explaining that.
Well, I think we need to give people the license to use descriptors that are accurate for them.
Right.
You know, because what's on my palate is going to be different than Matt's and yours.
Yep. Good point. All right, guys. So let's take a quick break. We're at the end of round one here. So why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back and have some great conversation with our friend Barry Brinegar with RD1 Spirits in just a minute.
Hey there, I'm Carrie Van Winkle, founder of Pappy & Company, where we celebrate family heritage and Southern craftsmanship. Check out our curated collection of artisanal goods that embody the spirit of Kentucky. From our signature barrel-aged pepper sauce aged in Pappy Van Winkle bourbon barrels to our luxurious leather goods inspired by generations of tradition, each item reflects our commitment to quality and legacy. Our line of gourmet food items are thoughtfully selected to bring the taste of the South to your table. Indulge in what I can say is the best bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup on the planet. A perfect blend of buttery rich flavors that elevate any dish or cocktail. We're big fans of the Bourbon Life Podcast, and we're honored to share the legacy of our great-grandfather Pappy Van Winkle with all of you. So visit pappyco.com for 15% off your purchase with code BourbonLife15.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they called Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the second round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight live in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it is my good friend and co-host, Matt. Matt, what's going on in there at the end of the table? Smile for the camera.
How you doing, this Squints?
Doing good, man.
Yeah.
Doing good. We're having fun, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're having a good time. Always good to be back around the table here, having our guests join us on the podcast live. Just makes it that much better.
Definitely. Well, we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors. We couldn't bring you guys this show every week without all their help. With that said, Matt, you want to tell everybody who we have with us?
Absolutely. Back again for round two, or this would be his, eighth round.
Eighth round. He's been on twice. That's right.
Eighth round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Is co-founder and national brand ambassador of RD1, our great friend, Barry Brinegar. Barry,
Thanks,
welcome on back.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So excited. You know, I was trying to do math, counting on my fingers how many segments I'm on. So thanks for shortening that.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I've got my flip-flops off, so you know when you come back for your next one,
he can count.
Yeah, I'll be ready to count.
Thank
a few
God
more
it's just
segments.
your flip-flops, Matt.
Yeah, the pants are securely on tonight.
Yeah. All right. Well, Barry, you brought something else for us. This came in a little special bottle. B. It just says B.
It's B.
For bourbon. You want to tell us what we got poured up in this round?
Yeah, so super excited to bring you this. This actually, you can find it's Balsamo.
Okay.
And the technical name is Myroxylon balsamum and Dr. Wood. So we have now a wood scientist that's our research master distiller and Jarrad Gollihue. Jared's going to school me when he hears that. He's like, "Come on, Barry, pronounce it
right, man."
But this is it's a native tropical evergreen tree from Central and South America, and it grows up to 20 to 25 meters in height. You're going to get some very specific type of evergreen notes that are going to really complement the current mash bill that we have. That mash bill is 70 corn, 21 rye, non-malted barley. Really works very well with this particular wood finish.
Great. And you know what? I'll get it later because I'm going to have to have you write it down. I'll never be able to figure out.
I'll send it to you.
What's the proof on this one?
This one's at barrel proof. It's 124 proof, so it's coming in. It's clocking in pretty high.
Yeah, so we're getting a little higher than our last round, which is great. Matt, what are you picking up on the nose on this one, man? Is
Balsamo used for any other purposes?
Yes, it is used for hardwood. There's so they definitely use it in wood flooring and furniture, but it also produces colognes, perfumes, and medicines. So, a lot of woods in Central and South America have multi-purposes in other types of products like that.
Interesting. Matt, what do you get, man?
To me, it's got kind of like a foresty type.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to call it like dark and dank, but think like kind of bright freshness of the forest, of like forest woods, forest trees. But there's also like a nice, like sweet grape must, kind of like a darker, richer flavor along with it as well, and almost like a little like briny kind of bright, like I don't want to call it salty, but just like kind of like something kind of bright or like funky on like the end of the nose as well, that really like helps to freshen some things up. This is really nice, really lovely. This is the first time I've smelled or tried anything Balsamo. So
yeah, this one's a fun one. I get some juniper notes too. So I get some really interesting flavor notes, and you may see something coming out LTO-ish. I'm just gonna put it out there as a teaser, but really love the Balsamo. Really love it.
Yeah. It is very unique, and I do get that. You talk about that a little bit of the evergreen kind of aroma off of that. So that is unique, but you still get those flavors of bourbon. I mean, everything comes through like you'd normally expect. So yeah, that's really interesting. I really like that. So first round, Barry, we were talking a little bit about Coach, being involved with the brand. So and a big win this weekend. Go Cats!
Cats! Yeah. Tori and I were flying back from California, and we were on American Airlines, and if you fly American Airlines, you know that you get free entertainment. And we're dialing in the live TV and see UK football on there. And I mean, we were rooting them. She was wearing her UK jersey, and the pilot was like, "How's UK doing?" So everybody was truly knew UK was playing, and so that was kind of fun. Lots of great signature win for Mark. So happy for him and the team. Go Cats!
Go Cats! I mean, if you're from Mississippi, sorry, but. That was a huge win, right?
Sorry, not sorry.
But how cool that he's involved with the brand. I mean, that's that's awesome. And he, like you said, from what I understand, he does seem to like bourbon a lot.
Mark does like his bourbon, and I mean, we use him as an advisor. I mean, he has a lot of relevancy, as it relates to bourbon, but hands off totally during football season. We don't bring Coach in with his whistle to our meetings.
That's cool though that he's been involved since day one. It wasn't just a thing where like once he saw success, he then jumped aboard. He saw the vision, saw what you all were doing, and was day one boots on the ground with it. That's got to be like quite an honor almost, and like a good friendship to foster and to maintain through all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about our new brand destination here in just a little bit, but having his eye on the build out and the concept has been very valuable.
Yeah, that's awesome to have him aboard. So let's go back and talk about your new person that's on your team.
Yeah.
That's some big news. I mean, we said we got a ton of big news because you got all these awards, and now you got a new member on your team. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Jarrad Gollihue. Jarrad has his PhD in, I like to say wood maturation. He might call it something different, but I'm leaning heavily into the wood piece.
Yeah.
Jarrad came from the James Beam Institute. He was one of the professors that talked in gin distilling, and really he's written several papers on specifically wood maturation as it relates to spirits. So he has taken a deep dive, and Mike Tedderton, his vision was let's bring some people in here that are going to take this to that next level. And to Mike's credit, he's the one who brought Jarrad in, and so Jarrad is our research and development master distiller. Our new brand destination is going in at Turner Commons. Turner Commons, as you're going out Main Street before you hit Leestown, before you hit Metathorpe, it is right there on the right-hand side. If you know Lexington, there's a little viaduct there that passes over some train tracks, and we're the anchor tenant there. There's 35-40 acres of development that's going in there. So we'll be there, 10,000 square foot. We'll be mashing, fermenting, and distilling. We'll have a wood science lab where you can come in and lab coat with Dr. Wood, and you want to create your own perfect barrel. You can do that. If you're a retailer and you want to say, I want a specific finish, we can put that down, lay that down for you. We'll have a cocktail bar. There'll be restaurants there. We'll have a patio. And then I just heard an update on there's an amphitheater. So there's an indoor-outdoor amphitheater going in that development. And I just got word that instead of it being 1,000-seat amphitheater, it's going to be 2,000 seats. Now, what I mean by that is it will accommodate up to 2,000 people standing, or 800 to 900 people sitting. Okay. That's huge. And there's going to be several stages there. And if you know Railbird, the Railbird Festival that happens here in Lexington, the same people that manage Railbird is managing this venue. So we're going to have Nashville-style acts. Nice. We're going to have some really cool musical acts come in there.
Yeah, that's very cool. So going back to Dr. Wood, Dr. Jarrad Gollihue. So he's from the Beam Institute. For people who don't know, that's at UK, right?
Yeah.
So he's a graduate from there now. But he has a PhD. Is that correct?
He has his PhD. So he was, an active teaching professor there. Okay. And actually did some work over in our brand destination while he was still at the James Beam Institute. So, we got to know him pretty well and really liked him. And, we just all clicked.
Yeah. So he'll be doing, is it official title? Is it like R&D Master Distiller? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he'll just be really focusing on the blend, not the blending, but the finishing and things like that. Is that kind of the idea?
Well, that's the idea. I mean, obviously, we're going to continue to lean into this wood finishing, but we're also mashing, fermenting, and distilling. And part of his knowledge base is really looking into the heirloom grains and really focusing on, maybe specific research kind of mash bills that if we like it on that lower level of our distillery there, we'll produce it massively in our column distill in Western Kentucky Distilling Company.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's another question I was going to ask you about Western Kentucky, because you guys had started working with Jacob Call. He was at Green River and then left, right? So that was that was about 2 years ago too, right? Wasn't that right around the same time
that he left? Yeah. So he left there. It's probably 2021 or close to 22. So those that don't know Jacob Call, he's an 8th generation master distiller. His family has roots in Paris, Kentucky. So, I have to believe, the part of me that really loves and leans into the history, have to believe that his family members rubbed elbows with William Tarr and Tom McGibbon back in the day. So there's definitely a connection there, both historically and today. And Mike Tedderton is a 49% owner in the Western Kentucky Distilling Company.
Oh, that's right.
So we've got we've got connections there to have all of our new make laid down.
Yeah, great. So then will they be continuing to do the majority of your distilling for you guys, or that's kind of okay? That's
and we want to we've leaned into this mash bill of 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley. We want to make sure that we minimize any kind of flavor drift as we move from our our barrels that we've got from Green River into the Western Kentucky Distilling Company. So we really believe that Jacob's going to be able to handle that for us.
Well, I mean, Jake, he's such a great guy, and I got to see him at the Bourbon Festival. I love running into him, and I don't get to see him that often, but I love the fact he remembers me. It makes me feel at least like I'm somewhat important, right?
No, you're a memorable guy.
Well, it's humbling though when you run into these guys and they're like, "Hey, Mark," and it's like, "Oh," because usually, used to I'd go up and be like, "Hey, Mark with the Bourbon Life Podcast," to reintroduce myself, because I know you guys, people out there building the brands and doing the work. You're meeting tons of people, so it's not easy to remember everybody. Mm-hmm. So when you get to that point with somebody, do they remember your first name? When they see you, it's like, oh, yay, I've made it, right? But yeah, Jacob's a great guy, and his dad was there as well, which is really cool. So
yeah,
but I'm happy you're partnered with them and doing the work with them, and Jacob's just doing a great job. So. Well, Matt, let's jump back to the whiskey, man. What do you pick up in terms of the palate and the finish on this one?
It's spicy.
Yeah, it is spicy.
Yeah, nice and spicy. I really like it right up front. It brings a lot of those spicy, like some baking spice, but also more peppercorn on this one. Kind of like some of those gin botanicals we were talking about, I think a little bit on the nose really come through on the palate. There's kind of like some peppercorn, a little bit of kick, little bite, from some of those other flavors as well, but then leans into the bourbon as well. Like kind of once you get past that really nice bright opening bite, and that heat leans towards like the honey, those sweet barrel notes as well, that influence from the oak. There's a little bit of like tree fruit or orchard fruit in there as well too that I'm picking up. And a nice good finish, like nice and spicy down the line, kind of cinnamon, peppercorn, kind of all those things you really look for. I think the rye really has a great influence with this and plays well with that wood too.
Nailed it again, Matt. I'm going to say ditto. The one thing that I really appreciate this on the mouthfeel and the finish is it crescendos. So you get this heat, you get these beautiful notes, these juniper notes and baking spices, and then it just ramps up on the finish. And so I love that crescendo kind of finish.
Yeah, and that's kind of weird because when you say juniper notes, you're talking about a bourbon. It just doesn't sound right? I mean, you're like, wait, what? But yeah, I mean, I do get those notes that you're talking about, Matt. And it's not like I'm drinking a gin that's been mixed in a bourbon. It's not that at all, right? But it's very unique. But that spiciness, man, it just continues to build.
Yeah.
The finish on this one just continues just to go on and on, man. It's crazy. So coming up with these ideas, I mean, how does that happen, Barry? I mean, how do you guys come up with like, hey, we're going to use whatever the whatever the wood was? I can't even say it.
Yeah, Balsamo.
Balsamo.
I think that the one thing that, because we experiment ourselves and we have a different approach as we're finishing, because we're finishing to flavor, we're finishing to taste. And what Jarrad has brought into the equation is, okay, we're going to set a protocol. We're gonna do this from a science perspective and make sure that we understand the ratio and proportions and have a very scientific approach to making sure that we can reproduce this. It's great to have a product that people love, but if you can't reproduce it, then it's like, okay, it's a one and done.
Yeah. So now, will this be a product then that's going to be like a standard release for you? You're smiling.
Yeah, we have so many products that will not make it to the core product. I would say this one, you'll see it again. Mark my words, you'll see this one again. But that's the beauty of our single barrel program. You can come in. We got a lot of options here. If you want to come into our wood science lab, we'll taste some Balsamo.
Yeah.
And what I've got for you coming up here, I think next is going to blow your mind.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one for sure. But this is really, because when you got here earlier tonight and you said Balsamo, I'm thinking they took like a balsamic vinegar cask and like put bourbon in it. I'm thinking all these weird things. I'm like,
it's a low calorie dressing.
I don't like balsamic vinegar, Barry, so I don't know how this is going to work for me, man. So, but it's wood. I've never heard of it. Of course, I've never heard of, what's the other stuff I never heard of before?
Aspen.
I didn't know that was a tree. I'm stupid, but I'm like, what? I didn't know. I mean, it's a city in Colorado. I didn't know aspen was an actual tree, but a lot I know, Barry.
Yeah, man.
I'm learning.
There's so many movie things that I could go to with that, but we'll just sit back.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm missing out on something. Sorry, guys, getting a phone call there. But so let's go back real quick and talk about the core, because you mentioned the core expressions. Can you just kind of refresh everybody's memory what your core expressions are?
Yeah, so they're all the same mash bill. So we have a Kentucky straight bourbon. It's 98 proof. And, just to remind everybody, 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley, and then the 3 different wood finishes. So we have a French oak finish that is 101 proof. We have a Amberana that is 110 proof, and then we have a double oak and maple finish that's 99 proof. So, we're trying to, we believe that we've got a flavor profile that's going to meet a lot of people, where they are in their bourbon journey.
So do you have, in terms of your blend, because you're blending these barrels together, correct? And you're blending the batch together and then finishing those, or how?
So it's going to change. I mean, you can only do so. We're finishing them in the existing American oak barrel.
Yeah.
We're putting staves in the existing barrel. So that's the way we're doing it now. And each one of those we're tasting to finish, and then we will small batch 10, 15 barrels at a time together with each other.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was wondering how that worked out.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, we're really at the end of round 2 here already. So Final thoughts though, Matt, on this one. What do you think?
I love it.
Balsamo.
My first time having Balsamo. I've heard about it, but never had it. So thanks, Barry. This is
you're welcome.
Yeah, it's almost got, it initially kind of had a reminder to me of Amberana a little bit, just from the cinnamon kind of aspect of it, but it's completely different.
Yeah, not as sweet.
Not as sweet.
You don't get that tropical fruit that you get with the Amberana, but it really leans into more of the earthy, the baking spices, the juniper, which is quite unusual.
Yeah, it really is. So I really enjoy this. All right, well, let's take a quick break and get a word from our sponsors. We'll be back with more with Barry Brinegar with RD1 Spirits in just a minute.
Welcome to Old Dominick Distillery, a family-owned craft distillery nestled in the heart of downtown Memphis. Founded by descendants of Domenico Canali, a pioneering Sicilian immigrant who made Memphis his home in the late 1800s, Old Dominick is steeped in history and tradition. Old Dominick prides itself on offering a diverse selection of whiskeys to satisfy every taste. Whether you're a seasoned connoisseur or a curious newcomer, you'll find something to love, including an 85 proof Tennessee whiskey, bonded Tennessee whiskey, a single barrel Tennessee whiskey, a 90.1 proof bourbon, and coming this fall, a cask strength bourbon. Each bottle of Old Dominick whiskey is crafted with care, featuring unique mash bills that offer a variety of high and low proofs. This dedication to quality ensures there's a perfect pour for every whiskey enthusiast. Old Dominick whiskeys are proudly distributed in several states, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia, Arkansas, Illinois, and Mississippi. Can't find us locally? No problem. You can conveniently purchase our products online and have them delivered straight to your doorstep. Ready to explore the world of Old Dominick? Visit our website at olddominick.com to learn more about our history, discover our products, and find a retailer near you. Visit the historic James E. Pepper Distillery, located in the vibrant Distillery District in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Initially built in 1880 by Colonel James E. Pepper, one of the founding fathers of the bourbon industry, it operated until 1967 when it was shut down and abandoned for over 50 years. After a decade of historical research, the brand was relaunched and the distillery was rebuilt. Distilling resumed on-site in 2017, using the same historic bourbon recipe as when it closed in 1967. The distillery offers a selection of fine whiskeys for tasting and retail purchases, including the award-winning Decanter Bourbon. Intimate guided tours include time in the museum, an up-close look at the grain-to-glass process, and a complimentary tasting. Stop by for an old-fashioned cocktail and see why TripAdvisor ranks the Pepper Distillery as the third best distillery in Kentucky and the #1 attraction in Lexington. Learn more at jamesepepper.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and sadly final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and we are here live in the Bourbon Life Studios tonight, and I've got my good friend and co-host, Matt, with me. Matt, how you doing down there, man?
Mark, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is you're getting your Bourbon Life Podcast, I'm doing great this evening for us. How are you, man? You
I'm good? I'm recording you now, Matt. On the glasses.
Oh, mercy.
The special spy glasses are recording you. I'm doing great, man. Having a great time. Drinking some delicious bourbon. Thankful for our guest that's here for the third time. Good friend of ours. So yeah, we're having a good time for sure. But we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors. Could not bring you this show every week without their support. So thank you, Liquor Barn, and all of our sponsors. Matt, with that said, would you like to tell everybody who we have with us?
Absolutely. Back for the third and final round this evening. He was the star of episode 51. He was the star of episode 147, and now we've got him here at 243.
243, man.
243,
right.
If you can believe it. Co-founder, national brand ambassador, Barry Brinegar with RD1 Spirits. Woohoo! Barry, welcome back for the final round.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's right. It
Segment
is
number 9.
Segment number 9, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get, somebody's asked us if we have like a special prize for people that do multiple episodes.
We need a coin. We need a challenge coin.
I don't know where you get those made. I would do that. Honestly, I would do a challenge coin, but I have no idea where you can get those made. But I thought about a green jacket, actually a green fleece, because Matt makes fun of me because I wear my fleece all the time.
I'm wearing a gray fleece as well. So
well, but you make fun of me.
We can't say
yeah.
No, I don't.
You guys always make fun of me for my green fleece or my gray fleece.
Well, now that you got those glasses on, it takes some attention
you
off
make fun
of the
of my
fleece.
glasses, man. But I'm recording with my glasses.
Clark Kent.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
So I thought about like a green, the green jacket, like the Master. So get a green fleece with the Bourbon Life logo.
I love it
for our multiple time guests. So
you could have a putting green down here.
Yeah, that's you see, you're reading our mind. Yeah,
put it right behind the sign here. There's a whole other section of or over there maybe on Matt's desk when we record remotely. Yeah, we could do that, man.
Yeah, but your fourth time you got to have the red shirt on, the Tiger Woods red shirt on Sunday, right? Yeah.
Yep. Oh, guys, we're getting way off topic here, but that's all right. It's a lot of fun, right? So, let's see. Barry, you want to tell us what we got poured up on this third and final? Wait, the other one said B. This one said, it's rubbed off.
It's SM.
S&M. I don't know what we're doing in this round.
It's a sexy beast.
There's something weird going on in this round, guys. Everybody sit tight. Why don't you tell us what we have there?
So what we have here, super proud of this one. So this is one of Jarrad's projects that he has been working on. So this is a smoked maple. And I mean, you on the aroma.
Yeah, it sure is.
You're pretty darn avid.
It is. Thank you, Captain Obvious. No.
But there's some fun notes on here. I mean, it takes that sweet maple and it really balances it out with that smoke. That smoke just brings in, the inverse of the sweetness. And I mean, nosing it, you're obviously going to pick up on it, but I can hardly wait till we go in for the taste because we got some really good adjectives to use for it.
Nice, Matt. You wanna talk about what you pick up?
Well, definitely smoked maple first and foremost. So I really like the strong lead off in that. It's got that sweetness that's right up front. But like you were saying, Barry, the smoke kind of helps to cut through a little bit of those sweet notes on it as well and add an extra layer. I pick up a lot of pecan. It's got like, to me, very distinctly pecan, roast pecan on the note and the nose. It's certainly not a peanut. It's like very much kind of like cinnamon roll, pecan, topping type notes as well. And there's almost like a touch of citrus, like a little orange and kind of like almost like roasted roast coffee bean kind of note on the back of the palate as well. Or maybe it's kind of like a like cocoa.
Yep.
That I might be picking up something kind of like along those like coffee, cocoa, dark chocolate notes.
Yeah, and I think that maple is really changing some of the characteristics that you're talking about there, because it's leaning into the sweet, but it's not overly sweet. It's more balanced, more savory note on here, and you can once you taste it, you're going to be able to pick this savory note up more on the aroma after we taste it. But absolutely, I like the balance. Our double oak and maple is very maple butterscotch forward. This kind of leans and pulls it back into the savory profile, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and I like the fact, the smoke does balance out that sweetness. You do detect the maple. You can obviously smell that. But that smoke, it's not like a peated smoke, or something like that with a scotch where it's overwhelming or just like, it's not that same kind of smokiness.
Yeah, it's not like earthy, funky, smoky. It's like a really inviting smoke, like campfire is
exactly what I was thinking. Campfire and maple. It's like getting up and having breakfast at a campfire and in the morning having some sausage and pancakes and maple syrup. And
you had me at eating breakfast.
I was going to say, don't tell me I had you at sausage, Barry. We don't want to go there. But hey, let's jump back over. Let's talk some more about the distillery. Where you guys are with everything right now. We talked about what people can expect. You talked about the amphitheater and everything else that's going to be going in there. But talk a little bit more about where you guys are in terms of the process.
Yeah, we got an update this week, and looks like we're into sometime in February of 2025 opening up with our visitor experience. And really excited to see that come to fruition. We're going to have in the same location, there's going to be a restaurant yet to be named and another entertainment area. So if you want to come and have the ultimate wedding, if you want to come and have the ultimate experience, you're going to be able to do that there. We'll have all kinds of food options. and catering. It's going to be just a super unique location there. There's going to be Airbnb that is going to be available. So, people that want to come and have that ultimate entertainment district experience, you can stay on site there. Lots of different storefronts. I've heard that there will be a glass blowing location there, and there's already battle axes back there.
At the back of right. Yeah.
So there's going to be lots of things, lots of green space for people to come and walk around, and we won't have a parking issue. Most importantly, there will be ample parking.
Yeah, that is an issue currently in it. Yeah.
And
I noticed that.
It's going to be a great thing to, as you turn into Turner Commons, it's like the first thing you're going to see, right? Is the beautiful RD1 Distillery and the great architecture with that great new looking building. It's really going to welcome people into that new area in Lexington. I think it's a great way to lead it off.
Yeah, and the look of the distillery itself. If you've ever been up to Bardstown and you've seen Bardstown Bourbon Company, they show their barrels with in these glass rick houses.
Yeah, right.
We're going to be showcasing barrels as you come in, which is kind of nice. You kind of equate a distillery with seeing barrels in a rick house. So we're going to have those there, and it's going to be a nice, open, inviting space.
Yeah, which is very cool. And one thing you guys schooled me during the break. I did not realize Fayette County, you can't store like a multiple amount of barrels, correct?
That's correct.
Which is something I did not know. So we're going to have to change that. I'm going to run for city council, and I'm going to get that changed. That's the only reason I'm going to run. I don't care about anything else.
Do it.
I'm just going to run.
I'm going to vote for you.
I'm going to run for city council. You need to move my district, and we're going to
start today.
Run for vote Rucker for city council for Lexington. We're going to change the law.
Let's change it.
We can store barrels here in Fayette County. I never knew that. I mean, that's just kind of crazy, but yeah, we need to work on that one for sure, right? Well, I'm sure we can. So we'll figure something out. So Barry, you guys, you're building this distillery. I mean, that is a huge undertaking. Crazy. Can you just talk about some of the challenges, some of the things that have gone on that you guys have faced in terms of doing that?
Well, there's still supplier issues. This far in from COVID, there's still the supplier issue. We're fortunate in that Jarrad, our Dr. Wood, actually brought the distillery at the James Beam Institute. So he was one of the ones that helped bring that to fruition.
Okay.
And so he's got a unique experience. So he's certainly the project manager over our new build. And we're very fortunate to have him, so he's getting quotes from different vendors and knows exactly what we need. So, we don't have someone that's like, I want this much capacity when we don't need a significant amount of capacity. Mm-hmm. And so, again, very fortunate to have someone who is in the know, that's an expert that can lead us, from a project management standpoint. So right now, because it's under roof, we feel pretty confident that that date in February is accurate.
Yeah.
But just can't wait to get in there.
Yeah. So now down there, is it like Lorillard Lofts or whatever? That's the same area, is that right?
It is. They're just across the that railroad.
Okay.
So they're before you get to Turner Commons. Lorillard Lofts are there, and those are just condos that are wonderful. If you ever
never been in one. Every time I pass that building, though, I'm like, God, man, what a cool.
It's unique.
Of course. Before you guys got there, you passed it and it's like, there's not a whole lot there. But now that whole area has just like blown up.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, how cool would it be to live there?
Yeah. A little bit of an issue getting in and out, because it's kind of one way in and you've got, just a one way out there. So it can be a little problematic depending on the time of day. But man, what a cool location.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for you guys, man. That's going to be so awesome when you guys are up and running and all the cool things that people can do and expect when they come down there. That's going to be great. So speaking of Lexington, this is obviously kind of an episode dedicated to Lexington. We're kind of focusing on Lexington brands this month, but Lexington has really embraced RD1. Can you kind of talk about what that means to you guys and how important that is?
It's very important. It's important that Lexington supports all distilleries that we have here. And we're part of a core group of distilleries that really pushed Lexington and Visit Lex to help us get that gateway sponsor on the Bourbon Trail. So the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, it brings $9 billion a year revenue of tourism dollars to the state, and Lexington just did not have a gateway sponsorship. So we were not on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail as a destination location. Now we are on that Kentucky Bourbon Trail, and so visitors that are Googling what to do on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail on the Google, either in-state or out-state, Lexington's popping up. And what we found already in Q1 alone of this year is our tourism revenue numbers have spiked and have increased. So if I could give a plea for Lexington consumers and Lexington restaurants and bars, lean into this. Help us promote tourism to come, because when they come to our distillery, they're going to come to your bar, they're going to come to your restaurant, they're going to come and stay at your location. So help us lean into this. Part of the requirement is you got to have an expression of each of the distillery on your bar. That's not a big ask. Just bring one of our high selling products into your bar, help promote. We'll have a Lexington flight that you can do, and we'll help with merchandising, we'll help with promoting, but this is a partnership. We need to all lean together, arm in arm, and really help drive this bourbon tourism to Lexington. So that's my plea to the folks of Lexington.
I think it's a valid plea, and we talked about that off camera as well. That it's just Lexington hasn't been where I think it should be either. In terms of bringing bourbon tourism here, and that's not to blame anybody. It's not anybody's fault. But I think as a community as a whole, with the help of leadership, with the help of other organizations and the distilleries themselves, that we can change that. And I really want Lexington to be the place, because it's my home now. I've been here for longer than I care to admit, but this is home. I always tell people I'm from Eastern Kentucky, but this is home.
Yeah.
And bourbon is my passion, and like you, I want people to come here to experience what we have here. And not for Lexington just to be like, oh man, yeah, I should have done that, or maybe next time I'll go. I want it to be the place where people say, I'm going to Lexington because there's a lot happening there, and there's a lot that I want to check out. Yep. And I think we can really take it to that point,
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Whenever I'm out in the country and promoting RD1 and Kentucky bourbon to the masses, the first thing I say is, Lexington's on the Bourbon Trail. Yeah. Come on and visit us. And I've gotten a lot of folks that either have visited and have Lexington now on their list to come and visit, or they've not visited and they're going to add Lexington to their list. Yeah.
And that's the thing. You're a great ambassador, not just for your brand, obviously, but for our city, which is awesome. So much respect to you for that, man, because you're a world traveler now, dude. Every time I'm on social media, it's like I just said, seeing the pictures in California, it's like you are everywhere, dude. I don't know how you do it. I really don't, man.
Well, I take vitamins. I get lots of sleep.
Vitamin B12 shots.
I say my prayers, drink lots of water.
Do some meth. No, I'm just Oh, wow. Guys, let's jump back.
Yes.
Talk about this whiskey, Matt. As you take another sip, what do you pick up in terms of the palate and the finish on this one?
Do you know the proof on this, Barry?
This one is 123 proof.
Okay. I believe it. It's warm. Yep. It opens right up with a lot of heat, and it's not a spicy heat. It's kind of like cinnamon, that baked good heat. For me, definitely the maple, some honey come across like right at the front. It's almost got like subtle hot toddy kind of flavors at the front of the palate.
I can see that.
Then that like that pecan roll, or like that pecan cinnamon roll, kind of like sweet frosting, maple glaze, like really come in there. There's that bready note on it as well. Then a good the finish on this is super long. Nice, like long, warm finish. The baking spices really come through. That maple comes back in, and a touch of that smoke kind of like closes it out to just add an extra layer to the finish.
Yeah. Again, nailed it, Matt. The one thing that come to my mind when I first tasted this as we were, getting it aged out was barbecue Lay's potato chips. And now, I can't get that out of my mind. And, so as I'm nosing it and tasting it, it's like, yep, it's still there. But it's that's that balance of the maple. The maple, you can go sweet notes in a lot of different directions, and that savory component, that oak, that smoky component really takes you on a bit of a journey and competes nicely with the sweetness of the maple.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing in terms of the competition, because that smokiness is a unique flavor. It's not like peat, thankfully, because I can't stand peat. So it's not that kind of peat smokiness, but it's very campfire-ish, very, very nice, a little smoky.
Yeah.
The maple comes through with that sweetness. There's the spiciness, but it's a nice blend, a balance between the three. Nothing dominates or really overtakes the other one.
Yeah.
But Matt, like you said, that finish, I mean, it's probably been 45 seconds since I had a sip, and it's like I can still feel that on my tongue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that using good restraint when coming out with this would be really important. I think that like the smoke and the maple could take over really easily, and this it's done well right now. That like that restraint to not let the finishing flavors of those smoke and the maple really take grip, because we've all had some finished products that have been finished a little bit too far, and you lose the great characteristics. You were talking sort of how you love those grain forward notes of bourbon or of whiskey, and sometimes you lose that aspect and it just gets drowned out by what you're finishing in or barrel age or whatever it may be. So like exercising restraint in this really helps to play with that balance.
I totally agree, and I think that especially when you're toasting and you're smoking, there has to be restraint. There has to be restraint on the length of time that you're toasting and smoking. But then to taste, and I think that one thing that we've leaned into and done really a good job is making sure that we don't over influence it, because you want a balance of what are my whiskey notes and how are they pairing with that finishing.
Yeah, very good, man. I really like this. It's I was gonna say you could just add maybe like a little bit of cherry juice and like a little bit of orange to it, and you basically have a smoked old fashioned. You don't need anything else in it, right?
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we've been alluding to LTOs in a couple of different rounds here. This seems like the future is quite bright on a few things for you.
Quite bright. Yeah. We're the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, speaking of the future, we are close to the end of the episode, which is crazy how fast these go.
They fly.
It's crazy, right? But let's look towards the future. Obviously, the distillery's under construction, going to be there hopefully February 2025.
Yep.
But anything else coming up in terms of products, the future, what does that look like for you guys?
We have just launched a 10-year Kentucky straight bourbon that's finished in Amberana. And we launched it at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. We have 900 cases that are going out to the national market. And I can tell you, Total Wine & More took 25% of our inventory. They leaned into it so heavily.
Wow.
If you like walking into a rick house and smelling that angel share, smelling that oak, if you like that leather and that musty, dank kind of, it's a mature Kentucky straight bourbon, this is your jam. And we've touched it with Amberana. We've given it a little bit of vibrancy with the Amberana, but it has that Kentucky funk coming out, and that's my jam.
You like the funk. We found out in the first round. We're not gonna say anything to Tori, but Barry likes the funk. So no, that's great. And I got to try it at the Bourbon Festival. Yeah, very, very good.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
The Bourbon Festival. That's 4 days of drinking, and Miss Tori will tell you we're drinking, we're tasting, and it's classy.
We're working.
Yeah, we're working. But then we have bottle shares in the evening, and so we might be up at midnight or 1, hanging out with people from all over the country. It's a tough life.
It is. Somebody's got to live it, though. It's the bourbon life.
Yeah.
So, Barry, I always like to ask our guests, and I probably asked you this before, I'm sure, but what's been your favorite part of this journey for you so far?
The people, meeting the people and having commonality of, we're coming together with this whiskey, and it brings people together from all walks of life.
Yeah.
So really it's the people. It's telling stories, it's making memories. I love, I lean into Freddie Johnson. Life's about making memories and, sharing your, I don't share my best bourbon with just anyone, is what Freddie will say. But if I share my best bourbon with you, you're obligated to hear how much pain I went through to get that bottle, and we're gonna share it together.
Nice.
So that the people really.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where can people get more information about the distillery and your products?
Yep. So RD1Spirits.com. You can go there. You can sign up for our newsletter, and we will deliver it to you every month, what's going on. And the important piece of that is we're going to be coming out with some limited time offerings. The people that are on our newsletter will be able to find it first. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, RD1Spirits.com. You can find me, I'm Barry Brinegar. You can find me on all of the social medias.
See his wild antics and all of his wonderful trips.
Where's Barry? Like, where's Waldo?
No shit. Yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, it's crazy. Yeah, that's great. So, Barry, any final thoughts before we wrap it up and close it out tonight?
Well, you guys have been terrific, and we absolutely love working with you and partnering with you. And, what I would love to do is just continue this journey together. As we look out into the future with other bourbon events where we're coming together in a festival atmosphere, we would love to have RD1's trailer parked right next to the Bourbon Life trailer, so we can just do this thing together.
That sounds great, man. We can make that happen, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Matt, any final thoughts before we close it up?
Barry, as always, it really has been a pleasure. You're such a great advocate for the bourbon community, but also all the people in it. I love hearing you say that people come up to you and say, hey, you're the co-founder, but you say, yeah, but I'm also a bourbon lover. You're a bourbon lover. And you immediately make those connections. You have that to share, and you make bourbon so personable. You do a great job with it. You're such a good advocate for everything that is Kentucky bourbon, for RD1, for all of bourbon across just all America. And I shouldn't say just Kentucky bourbon, but thank you so much for everything you do for everybody here, all the education you've provided, and the great memories throughout time.
That's awesome, Matt. Thank you. Thank you very much. Man,
between his tasting notes and his closing statement, I really can't top anything tonight, can I, Barry?
Nailed it.
Yeah, damn. Well, I think the world of you, man. So, and love having you on the show, and love just getting to run into you randomly at different places, and that's what I said earlier. It's like, I feel like you've been on the show just 6 months ago because I see you all these places, right? And people do love you. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because you can tell when we're out at events, I mean, people want to come up and want to talk to you and get to know you. And you're such a great ambassador, like Matt said. So kudos to you, man. Kudos to the brand. Mm-hmm. Even with the changes 2 years ago, that's what I think that has blown me away completely. The way you guys rolled through that, man. And it's just been like, crazy, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. So I'm thrilled for you guys for that. Thrilled for you as well. So
thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on that. So yeah, man, that's great. I'm going to wrap us up here. We are the Bourbon Life Podcast, presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support, the support of all of our sponsors. Getting to the show and bringing great guests like Barry every week. Without their support, like Matt says too, whatever time of day it is, morning, noon, or night, whenever it is you get your Bourbon Life fix, we appreciate you all tuning in, checking us out. We really appreciate the support. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. You can always find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life, or you can join our private Facebook group, The Bourbon Lifers. We'd love to have you in there. We have some fun things, conversations going on in there. So please feel free to check that out. Oh, Barry's got something to say.
Are we going to drink some of these other bottles you got here?
After the show, we're going to have a post-show throwdown. Yes, sir. You know we will, Barry. You're always welcome to hang out here and drink whatever. I'll take you upstairs where the good stuff is. So we can check that out. So, so thank you guys for tuning in. We always appreciate that very much. Don't forget to check out our buddy, Big Chief Mike Hyatt, doing the whiskey trip. He's under our umbrella. His episodes come out every Tuesday. Mike's doing some great stuff. He's got some great guests on there, doing a lot of Texas whiskey and a lot of the smaller craft distillers out there that are working hard to bring you guys a lot of different brands, but Mike's doing some great stuff out there. So check him out as well. He's also on Instagram and Facebook as The Whiskey Trip. So please be sure to check him out. Give him a like and a follow and listen to his podcast. With that said, I'm going to wrap us up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full and may you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.
Welcome to the kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company, where every visit is a celebration of tradition and flavor. Did you know that the kitchen table is nestled right within the heart of the distillery? That's right. You can experience the essence of James B. Beam's legacy while savoring their delectable dishes. Join them every Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a culinary journey like no other. Planning a special event? Let the kitchen table be your host, creating unforgettable memories for you and your guests. And don't miss their exclusive Behind the Beam tour and monthly Claremont Supper Club events, which will feature the 2024 Distillers Share releases at the November event. For more information and reservations, visit beamdistilling.com. The kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company. Come as a friend, leave as family.